If it's 11 a.m. Eastern Time, it's definitely the Hour of Empower on the Livestream Network. And the word of the day is perseverance, which is really important with whatever we're working with or whoever we're working with. And especially in today's dynamic change. Just want to share that chat's wide open. We depend on chat to direct us and make us more relevant so you can have some quality takeaways. So, anyways, I'll introduce Rita. She can bring us up to date and also her first thoughts on perseverance. So, Rita, welcome. And
Thank you.
what's been going on?
Well, as you know, I had a little, we've had technical difficulties this morning, and I apologize, everybody. I am here on my phone, so I'm going to leave out my AirPads, and we're about at that point, Don, where I'm going to grab my hat.
Well,
All
good for
right.
you. I'm glad I'm not alone here with a hat.
Okay, well, we have a technical difficulty. I'm sorry, Dr. Richardson isn't joining us this morning. And I'm thrilled to be back here with you for this special day, Donald. And the word that we have chosen is perseverance. And this morning, I want to tell you how cool as a cucumber Donald Cohn was when we had a technical difficulty. He's like, Rita, why don't you grab your phone? I'm like, where's my iPad? So we grabbed the phone, and here we are. So let's get on with it because we're thrilled to be here with our audience. The audience is everything about the show. It's not about me. It's not about Donald, but it really is. This man comes on every single day and makes our lives better. So I'm so thrilled to be back today, Don. And for perseverance, I do have some notes. I'm going to take a quick look at what I had put out to everybody just to get us started. Perseverance is a wonderful word. I know it's not real jazzy or real sexy, to be honest. There's other words that we've used that certainly make my heart sing even more than perseverance. But why I love this word is right now we all are experiencing perseverance, whether it's in our personal life or whether it's about what we do with our work life. Perseverance is what keeps us going when it gets a little rough. So, Don, before I turn that over to you, I had a couple of definitions that I do
Sure.
want to share.
I'd love to hear them. You're always good and prepared.
Well, I love words. What I don't love words like failure, struggle, hard. I like words that make sense to us that we can actually accomplish. So for perseverance, when I started, I had stubbornness with a purpose because I'm a very stubborn person. But actually, you're more stubborn than I am in a good way because you figured out this morning. I'm like, I'm going to throw my hat in the air and I'm just going to have to give up. I've been up since 6 on my time, early bird special, but I had to stay with perseverance, not to give up, because I really nearly gave up this morning. And Don said, Rita, you've done 21 shows with me. We can do this. So here we are. So number 2 definition, number 1 is stubbornness. And I use that word because I meant it. Sometimes we have to be stubborn and not give up. So persistence, number 2, I had written down, it's doing something despite a delay or a difficulty. And again, that's a word that I don't like either. So let's change that to it's a challenge. And then I wrote down, it's about achieving success. So I'm turning to you because as we talk about persistence, we need to, and perseverance, we need to talk about what are we going for? What do we need to be persistent about? So I'm turning to you with a definition of success, Don.
Well, that's great. I think, both, I like that stubborn element that you brought up.
Right.
Because it takes what most people think is maybe not a positive attribute into a force that you can really compress into
Yes.
action and feel good. And I guess stubborn can be exchanged for holding the line, staying in there, making it happen. And with that, I know there's a lot of people. Well, we got an amazing blast off here.
Oh,
Omar,
good.
let me just get the audience into the show.
Yes.
Good morning, Rita. Welcome back. Well, Omar's a great guy. Actually,
Hi, Omar.
he's got a show today that I'm going to be on with Leslie Flowers.
Oh, yay.
And it's a Zoom party. All proceeds go to charity, and Omar's hosting it. So if you get a chance, check out that wonderful show. Carl's here, who's part of the original collaboration group and is really digging in and making progress. Launched a newsletter, and within just a couple days had about 300 subscribers.
Wow, that's great.
Oh, unbelievable. Good morning.
That's because of you, Don.
Well, with all of us, we're a mosaic. A definition of an entrepreneur is a person who's too stupid to know when to quit. That's a good way.
Right.
Good morning, Rita. Welcome back. I said,
Hello.
hey, Randy's here. Randy's a great guy. Hello, Donald and Rita. And then
Hello.
comes back with, looks like, once again, LinkedIn is not going to allow us to see everyone else's comments. Well, I have been aware, so I'll be checking out the comments on the post. And if there's anybody here that's not here, I'll let them know. Randy, when you look stubborn up in a dictionary, whose pick will be next to the definition? And we've got an individual,
right.
Simran Kapoor. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Haven't seen you before, but happy to have you. We've got now D'Angelo, who's another guest who's joining us now.
Oh, here he is. Yay, Delaney.
Yeah, so, I mean, today was all a stumble and fall, but we got up and walked and fall. So two things I wanted to do. First of all, introduce D'Angelo to the audience and allow D'Angelo to share a little bit about himself, just to provide some context and what his original thoughts are on perseverance. So welcome to the show, D'Angelo.
Thank you.
Introduce yourself.
Hi, Rita.
I made it. I'm on my phone, D'Angelo, so it was just that kind of a morning.
Don, I am sweating. I said, oh no, what's going on with the browser? It says that the browser is unsupported, which is timely.
Yeah.
I don't know if you all knew there was a tornado here last night.
Okay.
It did some pretty good damage, but we are all safe. Clarksville, the city of Clarksville, is taking care of the families and the needs of the people around here. They had a curfew yesterday evening, so we're doing really, really well to take care of one another here in this time of loss and discomfort, which is very timely for perseverance.
Yes,
it represents who we are as people, not just me and my background, but all of us as individuals and brothers and sisters and likeness of one another, to find a way to move forward in times of hardship. And I'll say that to give you my background. I am a man and a person, human being, of experience through hardship. And to tell you all about myself, I don't really like to talk about myself, but if I can say anything, I believe that throughout my time in this short time of life that I've lived, I think that the only thing to know about me is that I love everyone. I love life. I love animals. I love nature. I love everything about life. And the only thing that matters to me and about me is that practicing of love and stewardship and of brotherhood, of communion with other individuals. And that is the only thing that is important about me. If there's anything that anyone wants to know about D'Angelo, who I am as a person, is just know that whenever you encounter me via LinkedIn, any other social platform, if we were to meet in person, know that I'm someone that you're going to experience love from.
And I'm going to say one thing, because I was going to start by introducing D'Angelo. I've known D'Angelo so long now, it feels like it's about 80 years, but it hasn't been quite that long. And this man, to be on with D'Angelo was my greatest joy. And I'm so glad, Don, that we're here with you. And it doesn't matter about technical stuff. We're here. And that's all that matters, is we're together, because D'Angelo is a man that embodies the word perseverance. So when I met him, and as close as we become, such good friends and colleagues, I've never known anybody next to you, Don, who told me to get on my phone this morning. I've never known anybody who embodied perseverance more than D'Angelo, and he's being very modest. I think, Don, as we talked about success for a minute, and because we're bonded with our audiences here on Hour of Empower, thanks to you, Don, I think the most important thing is that personal connection that we have with one another and the caring. And when we talked about success before you joined, D'Angelo, Don and I know how to pivot pretty well. And you and I talk a lot about pivot, D'Angelo.
Yes.
So
Yes, we do.
perseverance, when we talked about success, when I asked Don, instead of turning to you, as I had everything all planned out, I turned to Don and I said, what's your meaning of success? Because we all have reasons in our life right now, whether it's personal or it's about work life, that we must know where we're going so we know what road we're going to take, even if that detour turns out to be the road we were supposed to be on to begin with. So I got to go back, Don, if it's okay with you. I want to go back to D'Angelo for just a moment. A tornado is a horrible thing, and I'm very sorry. We're hopeful for everyone to come out okay. But while you're here with us at this moment, what do you define success for you with all the challenges that I know you've met and overcome? And you came up with the word perseverance. Why did you do that? Talk to us.
I believe that
And then
perseverance.
back to the audience.
I believe that perseverance is relevant to journey. I have this quote that I like. I tell a lot of people that I love novelists, I love poets, but Winston Churchill, one of my favorite poets, said that success is going from failure to failure without loss of enthusiasm. And Rita, you and I, we talk a lot about failure and what it actually means and how it communicates in the mind, and we don't put emphasis on failure.
No.
Perseverance is going from success to success without loss of enthusiasm, because every moment that we live in our lives is an opportunity for us to learn and embrace that time. So perseverance is a key. It's almost a key to life. You have to experience. Darren Hardy wrote a book called The Entrepreneur Roller Coaster, and in that book he said that to everything has and I'm paraphrasing, but he says that everything has an equivalent opposite. So whatever road you travel, there's another road parallel to you that can be traveled also. And in some instances, they intersect. Sometimes they interlace. And you have to be able to experience the other side of the bad and the good, because that's the only way that you can appreciate the journey.
Well, here, let me just
Don.
For the benefit of the audience, and actually, you mentioned Darren Hardy. I was with him for quite a bit in the 90s.
Really?
When he was coming up,
How could I not know Don?
He was a really, really impactful speaker.
Yes.
Like I say, it was like 30 years ago when he was just coming up, and actually we're pretty level at a certain point. But anyways, as an aside, I think people really here want to know, what are you doing with what you're doing, right? Because the key is how do they learn today to apply something,
right?
And D'Angelo, for sure, you're brand new to everybody. So why don't we just take a quick minute to have Rita share what her activities are, what she's involved in. And then we can switch it to D'Angelo, because I know D'Angelo's a prolific speaker, and I think that's really what people want to know is, what are they doing? I could be doing. What are they thinking? Maybe I may want to think. So, to introduce yourself, actually, Rita's got a fabulous background. I would start with that to say, just quick, because this whole show is about talking.
No, I want to get to the audience, because they're not just an audience here.
They're not. Yeah,
they're everything. It's about the people that come, the persistent people that come every day to be with Don, or as soon as they can, or they hit the replay, because this is a magical moment. So for persistence, the one thing that keeps me going no matter what is my will. It's all about my purpose. I once said, when people said, Rita, why didn't you retire? And I go, retire from what? Well, no, I never retired from being a principal. I went on to be a founder and open my own business, but I never retired from that either, traveling the country and keynoting and working with teachers in 600 plus classrooms. I never retired then either. I never retired as an author. I've got probably about 10 books, 3 up on Amazon. None of that matters. All that matters is my relationship with the people on LinkedIn, behind the scenes, what you don't see in Twitter, X, and all the other platforms that I've stayed on. It's about relationships. So for persistence, I think the first thing for everybody is that we all need a coach and a mentor. I found a great coach and mentor in Donald Cohen. What I didn't know, I learned, except for this morning when I couldn't get on the street.
But it just shows how easily you work through things instead of get stuck on the things, right?
But I did get stuck. I had a panic attack this morning. I'm like, I don't do this. I haven't been with Don for a couple months due to some personal reasons, and I couldn't be back for a while. But I wanted to be here today to introduce D'Angelo because he's such a dear friend of mine. But the bottom line is, when I start to give up, the one thing that keeps me going is, honestly, I think about my mother, and then my mother taught me to never give up whatever I did, whether it was on a degree or having a beautiful marriage till I lost my husband. I never gave up on his health. I never gave up on my family. I just don't give up. I don't believe in giving up. If you see me give up on something, it's because it's insurmountable even for me. But rarely does that happen because I don't allow it. There's something that pushes an entrepreneur, a founder, a leader, and that includes a parent, a caregiver, whatever roles we have in this life. It's all about what is our definition of success. And that might be one small thing today, that I make a phone call to my sister to see how she's feeling from catching COVID, to be honest. And that will be my success for today, to make sure I put that time in. And it may be today that I have some writing I need to do, but whatever it is that I don't want to do, or I don't think I have time, or I don't feel well enough to do, I'm just tired, I'm just this, I'm just that. It's my purpose, my drive that pushes me over the top. When we think we can't do it, find one thing that you can do today that will make a difference in either your life or somebody else, because we don't think that when we see someone, they look okay. And so I always observe closely, I listen with intention, and I always ask a second question. Brad Hughes, another principal. Now, I haven't been a principal for a while, but I'm still pretty tight with a bunch of principals. And he told me once, and he said, always ask a second question. And what I find is, for perseverance, to get to that second question is when people will open up. And we don't have to know their whole everything, but they know we care. So for day, one thing today might mean to reach out to somebody that you haven't, that could benefit so greatly, more than you'll ever know. And it will do for us that gift, that perseverance that drove us to do something we didn't want to do, or we didn't have time to do, or we couldn't do it. We do it. Just pick one thing.
Well, that's so well said, and right to what my interesting question was, because it really opens it up to not what you think, but what are you doing with what you think?
That's right. It's always about actionable steps. D'Angelo and I talk about this all the time.
Yes.
We
Yes.
don't leave things open-ended. It's about teaching for transfer. And whether we're here as a speaker, a leader, we're not. We're here as just the same as everybody sitting in the audience or those listening to the replay. We're no different. We're no better. We are people. All of us are one collective people. We have an extraordinary opportunity in our world right now to make a huge difference by standing up, by speaking out, by being there for someone else that needs us. That's perseverance. That's being there for someone. And that's the gift that goes on giving in this holiday season. It's not about stuff. It's about the gift from my heart to yours.
Great, Rita. I couldn't have said it better. I'm glad you did share it with us. I want to reach out to the audience. And, one thing I picked up is, when you give up, what do you give up to? What do you give up for?
We don't give anything
where does it lead except
yes.
goodbye, right? When you give up on something,
Right.
you release it, but what are you any better for? What do you have in replacement of it? And if you give up on this, aren't you going to give up on that when it gets to the point? So really, are you
Yeah.
waiting for someone to work for you, or are you willing to go to work for yourself with
Mhm.
whatever you're dealt?
If
I
you
mean,
wait for something to happen, you can keep waiting forever.
Yes.
absolutely. And when that's going to happen, it's going to happen irregardless or independently of what you're doing to make something happen, right?
Well,
If you
that is the point. We have to make it happen.
well,
That-
if you don't, then
That's persistence and that's perseverance.
and here's the key: if you don't, it's a matter about responsibility and accountability.
And if we don't, then you don't want to have a regret later.
Well, that's what I'm saying is if you didn't do anything, don't be
That's right.
disappointed that nothing happened. If
Nothing will
that
happen.
surprises you, then you're looking for a lottery ticket. And
That's
you know how
right.
many times people win the lottery. But I'll take you right over to D'Angelo once we bring Paul on. Haven't seen Paul in a bit, but I know Paul is extremely busy. Calls me Grandpa Don out of reverence, not out of old age.
I call you sensei. You know that.
I know. You're too good, Rita. And
I
actually,
love you,
set
Donald.
up this whole thing with D'Angelo. So with that, grateful to be here to learn and support you. There's a line I love from the scrolls that says, the only time you fail is if you give up. Og Mondino. And actually, I got to see Og in person before he passed away. Paul says one of my favorite quotes from Darren Hardy is success can't be earned.
It can only
Be rented, and the rent is due every day.
Every
Darren Hardy. Yeah, I used to be with Darren every week. I mean, we were in a networking group, and he was a young guy. I mean, probably late 20s at the time. One of my favorite, okay, we covered that. Success can't be okay. Then Carl comes back, and Carl always
Hi,
comes
Carl.
back with good stuff. Working with Don is like playing crack the whip. He grabs you by the hand, gives you knowledge, and then propels you forward at a higher speed. You know why? Because the lane's wide open. People don't know how to get to it, and they don't know what to do when they are at it.
That's right.
All we're taking is LinkedIn and the platform and leveraging it properly.
That's right.
All our goal is content, right?
Yes.
We don't have any overhead here. There's no price to play except for creativity,
Right.
innovation. And on relationships, I've been on LinkedIn for a long time, but 4 years
Right.
every day, haven't missed a post in 4 years. 601 videos days out of 602 days possibly.
You mean the one day you went fishing was the only day you took off this whole
Yeah,
time?
well, my grandkids were playing soccer, and I wanted to demonstrate that they were much more important than even my show, because that's always been my priority is family first. Take care of yourself, take care of the people around you, and then you're in better position to take care of more people. But thank you, Carl. Carl, me and Kelly were just talking this week, is such a fast learner and digs right in and gets things going. And because of that, Kelly follows up, and Kelly's here now Mondays with me and Harvey every week. Thursdays, just me and Kelly with guests, and probably another day or two during the week because Kelly's been an anchor here for 11 months, has her own wonderful show with Christy Howard, The Awesome Journey, that celebrates servicemen and first responders. Has some great people. Actually, Kelly, I was going to just send you that we've got a major general that Kelly interviewed on her show that loves what we're doing here, is going to be coming on to January 29th with Kelly, myself, and Dave Snell, who's part of that group. And Dave and General Greg, their whole focus is on helping returning vets transition into civilian life. And they both had significant challenges. General states he was bipolar, and because of that created all this distress, but he overcame it, and now he wrote a book about it, and he's really out there helping all these other people. So kind of what D'Angelo was saying, you feel better about yourself when other people feel better because of you, right? When you leave with a sense of, what's that, Rita?
No, I'm just nodding. It's a vocalized
Well,
nod. I'm nodding with you. Yeah.
Let's
good
get
point.
I wanted to go back to D'Angelo though, where we left off, D'Angelo. Um, what when we're talking about actionable steps, and I know I talk about it all the time, but actionable steps are really important for those who are joining us today and those who will be following the replay and the YouTube and the streaming and all of it. What do you do when you're stuck?
I tell myself that I don't have a choice but to quit because I don't. There's the cycle of redundancy of habit
Yeah.
when you don't continue to go forward. And I told a story about the time I went skydiving. This is my first time jumping out of a plane, and going. I'm not a fearful person, so it was just by nature I was going to do it. But when you look down, when you look out of that door and you're hanging off the edge of that plane, and there's nowhere for you to step to regain your sense of safety, I decided that there's only one way I'm getting back home, and it was to jump out of that plane. And it's the fear of the unknown that keeps you from doing it, but it was the
Yes.
exhilaration throughout the process that made it all worth it. And actionable steps, you have to desire that exhilarating emotion, that feeling of wow, I never knew that this could happen. This is it's a lot more fun and a lot more amusing than I thought. I see myself accomplishing something that other people refuse to do, and it's not that that we're afraid. Is we don't know that we're capable of doing anything until we do it. And the more we do, the more decisions we make to go forward, we find out that it's easier than it seems if we just overcome the objective or the objection of fear. It's once you eliminate fear, it makes it easier for you to keep going forward. And when you think about fear, a lot, we fear things that are natural for our nature. We fear having children sometimes. Sometimes we fear marriage. Sometimes we fear love.
Yeah.
Sometimes we fear investing money into ourselves. Sometimes we fear the faces of others when we don't know that they're genuine people. Sometimes we fear reading books. Sometimes we fear spending time that we don't really have to waste. Like there's everything that you do is to address actionable steps. You have to be willing to capitalize on moments because you don't know that those moments are never coming again until you realize that you're never going to get that opportunity again. And then you're forced to put yourself in a position where you have to create your own opportunity because you missed the opportunity that was given to you. So we get into these cycles of what we perceive as failure because we're not willing to go the extra mile. We're not willing to take the next step. We're not willing to allow ourselves to learn in the moment and the times that we have so that we can go forward. Because every moment, every second in life is a moment to learn. Children, from the moment of inception to birth, they're learning. They're communicating with the mother. From the moment that they're conceived, they're automatically communicating with the body of the mother, the mind of the mother, the spirit that is within them. They're already communicating. And then when they come out, they learn to experience life in a completely different manner because it is the first time oxygen touches their skin.
Well,
D'Angelo, how do you model persistence, you and your wife? Because I know you guys are so tight.
Oh, that's a good question. That's a good
How do you
question.
model persistence, not just for your wife? I don't mean that, but for your children. You have 3 beautiful children.
Thank you. Modeling
How do you model? I keep saying persistence, but I'm using that
perseverance.
Perseverance. Yes, you know that.
So
I'm sorry.
my wife and I, we're very transparent about our story and how we come together. We dated for quite a while before we had chosen to get married, and it was a drop of the dime decision. We both were not ready to be married, not even close. And I looked up one day and I said, "It's a leap year. We should just get married on a leap year." And she said, "Yeah, we should do it." And we made an agreement in that moment and did it. And no matter what the things that we had gone through prior to that moment,
Right.
the good or bad that we had to experience with each other, we've always decided that we weren't going to give up on each other.
Right.
And it has been a lot of people say, "Oh, it's a fight. It's a fight." No, it's not a fight. It's an experience. It's a learning experience. It's an opportunity for you and your spouse to grow. And that's the biggest perseverance. If I had to say, it's my family. It's our family model. Because we go through a lot. We go through a lot year to year, and we stick it out. You know, that's this story that I tell. It happened last year. Or was it last year? I want to say it was last year. We were at a baseball game, and there's just something going on. It's just like we couldn't mesh. We couldn't meet each other eye to eye. Not that we were arguing, but we just kept missing the balance. And something happened, and she was right. I missed the moment. I wasn't aware, and I got a little bit upset. And I noticed that when she responded, or when I responded to her, it smelled like my brother-in-law, her brother is a really good guy. He said, "Man, it smells like something on fire." And I said, "No, it's not, nothing's burning. It's just the inner emotion, because we created this flame of a lack of expression because we didn't understand each other in that moment." And that's the part of perseverance, is also communicating, being able to understand. And I'm a big reader of the Bible, and the Bible talks about that. It says, "In all thy getting, get understanding." You have to be able to get understanding, and when you understand, you can persevere because you know what you're dealing with, you know who you're dealing with, you know why you're dealing with it, you know how to deal with it. It's a matter of it's subjective in the mind, but when you think about perseverance, it's ultimately, why do you want to persevere? What do you want to persevere for?
That's what we're looking at. Don, how do you do it? What how do you do this every day? What drives you? I know once you told me that it was no big deal, but it is a big deal. Okay. You have to persevere. I know there's days that there has to be something going on, either something with the house, or here we can't get on a stream ride. It's happened so many times to guests. Things happen in life. How do you get over them? What drives you and your purpose to do this every day, to make this safe space, as I call it, for others to share their hopes, their dreams, their aspirations, their feelings? Nobody does this but you. I've never in my life seen anything like this in what you do. Don't get a big head over this.
No. And
When I tell you guys you walk on water, I mean it.
you are giving me a swelled head.
Well, you deserve it.
Well, thank you. And you're a sweet person, and everybody should get to know Rita and D'Angelo, because
This is the guy. I think they know me. I want them to know him as I know him. Because
well, I appreciate
he's extraordinary.
But to your question, it's all, everything we're talking about is context and perspective.
Yes.
Right. And if you do things in the right amount of time, you don't have stress, right? If you had to do something by tomorrow versus, hey, I got 2 months and it's a simple thing, you're not stressed. You might do it tomorrow, but it won't be because you have to.
Right.
You and the other thing is, you do what you like doing. You couldn't do this every day if you didn't enjoy it. I look at this like a coffee conversation in my living room with other people in their living room, with no one having to leave their living room to be in a collective living room. And with that, if you were sitting at home and you had the time and you got 7, 8 knocks on your door, and they were some of the best people, the best friends, the best family that you've gotten to know and support, and they say, "Can we join you for a cup of coffee?" It'd be like, that hour goes like this hour. It'd be, sure, sit down. It was better than anything else I had going on, and you came to me. It's not like someone had to get on a plane or get in a car.
Right.
And then you find that when it's over, a lot of times that's the best part of your day, because it's relevance too. And as much as you do for family, family is busy. Family is occupied. Family has their own life to live and is focused. So when you can engineer a family that never goes away if you don't want it to, right? By how you post, how you comment, how you like, but mostly that's just like shadow boxing. Here's where the game is, right? Because this is real time, real people, real conversation, no rehearsals, no preparation. And that's one more reason I can do it. I don't have to think or do anything except who's going to show up, what's the word. Most cases, the people come up with the word and who's going to show up. All I got to do is throw the ball in every day. Where it goes, and the game begins and everybody plays. And my role is just to keep it together keep it moving and keep it energetic. So I mean, how many great friends could you have, and how often could you see them without saying, boy, I'm tired of this? Because when they're gone, you got all of you back. And then what are you going to do with all of you? Which is think of you, what you're going to do, what you're not going to do, and who you're going to do it with. That's not fun, because you wrestle with yourself, because you have so many options, you have so many choices, and everything is redirection of your time, redirection of relationships, redirection of your energy. People tell you, I don't have enough time. I say, how much time don't you got? Right? What are you doing with your time, and what are you getting for it? And, I think to D'Angelo's point, change is a teacher, right? If you never change, you never learn. You might be really getting better at one little thing.
Right.
But that's not very satisfying. And, the interesting thing is no one gets out of here alive.
That's right.
So what are you worried about? What is the thing you wish you could have done? Actually, we talk about Darren Hardy. The person who was in the top was Jeff Olson. He was in charge. Eric Worre. Those two were on top of the organization. And Jeff given a speech, and he said, my biggest nightmare is I'm sitting on my deathbed, and all my wonderful family and friends are all around me.
Yeah.
I say to myself, what could I have done in my life that wouldn't have put me here? Right? And maybe that's what you're doing right now and getting away with it. What I'm into is sustainability, scalability, duplicability. If it doesn't spread, it ain't powerful enough, and it doesn't have a life of its own.
Absolutely.
So D'Angelo, what is your background, really quickly, to give context to where you came from, to how you got to where you are in a brief moment?
I grew up. I grew up in Detroit, Michigan. I was born in a mother and my mother and my father. And my childhood experience is a lot of obstacles. I had to overcome a lot of different things, with challenges of the environment that I lived in. Sometimes my peers. There's a lot of different obstacles that are common to human nature. So throughout that journey, I know that I had been exposed to so much at such a young age, but trying to navigate and find the good in every situation, it began this process of development and of growth, because adversity is there. It's there for you to experience no matter where you go. So going through all of that, having to still excel in school, to learn skills, craft, to still be the sibling that I was, to protect my family. I did a lot of protecting my home, my household, just as a kid, and that taught me leadership at a young age. I was doing it at maybe about 6-7 years old, and there's the common misconception of how poverty destroys individuals, and it doesn't. It builds them the same way wealth builds individuals, because you learn what to do in situations where you cannot do what is normal to you, or what you're designed to do. You have to pivot. Rita, we talk about that a lot, the pivoting. So my mother stressed education. Education was the most important thing to my mother. She didn't worry about the mistakes that I made. She made sure that if you're going to do anything, you're going to know how to read and write. You're going to know how to speak. And I always encountered men and women leaders who put emphasis on speaking, put emphasis on writing, language, grammar, rhetoric, literature. They put emphasis on those things. And so I read a lot of books. I read books by Mildred Taylor. I read the Constitution over and over again. I read laws. I read biographies. I did all of these things. And I always found myself in a place of learning, a journey of learning. In school, I learned about entrepreneurship in high school. I learned about criminal law, forensics, economics. Those were my interests. I learned about leadership. I learned about professional development. I learned about organizational development, organizational leadership. All of these things happened throughout my life as a leader of sports teams, some organizations, some participants. I really enjoyed playing chess, which taught me how to think in a complex manner, how to move and strategically plan out my route of success. And that ultimately led me to being who I am today. Is I think I'm patient. I don't make rash, immediate impulsive decisions. I'm patient. And in that journey, it's hard to condense into one small short conversation, because it's so much. It's so much when if any of us, to you in the audience as well, when you sit back and think about who you are, what you're able to do is you discover that there's more to know about yourself than you've given yourself credit for. All of the gifts that you have, the work that you want to do, you've already been doing the work. You just have to take time to identify how to utilize the tools that you have. And that's what I've been able to do. And sometimes it has not always been me. It's been other individuals or other leaders or mentors or coaches identifying things about me. I'll tell you one quick story. When I started the doctoral program at Trevecca Nazarene University, the best academic institution I think I've ever experienced. I think I made that a point yesterday.
That was my question too,
Yes.
D'Angelo. Could you tell everybody how you got my next one? How and when did you decide to go back and get your doctorate? And was that when you were already married with the 3 children?
So I made the decision to go back. Me and my wife, we had already had our first child.
Yeah.
And we made the decision as I'm finishing up my master's. I made a decision through conversation with a friend of mine. He thought it was a good idea for me to go. And I was working for the state of Tennessee at the time, Labor, Workforce, and Development. And my site lead, she said it was a good idea for me to go. So I decided to just apply and see where it went. If they said no, I would have been fine with that. I would have went with another institution, but I would have just enjoyed it. So we got married. When we got married, February 29th, 2020. As I'm finishing my capstone thesis for my master's, I submitted the application, and they accepted me prior to me finishing or submitting my last assignment, because the transcripts had pretty much been developed. I was just enrolled in that one last class. And when they accepted me, I said, wow, this is the next journey. And when I did it, I didn't know what to expect. All I knew was the threat of a dissertation. And I remember my 10th grade teacher. His name is David Lewis Craig. He's also a doctor of education. I asked him, what did I have to do to be a doctor when I was in the 10th grade? He said, you have to write a book. I did not know that writing a dissertation was the book. And the first class, it was my first class, Dr. Ryan Longnecker. He called me on the phone. I was struggling. The first, out the gate, I was struggling. He called me on the phone and he said, if these are the things that you have been doing, these are the things that I've instructed you to do. If you don't change these things that you've been doing differently and not following the instructions, you're going to fail. And I didn't have room to make a mistake from that moment forward. And I made those changes immediately. I sacrificed whatever I had to sacrifice to make those changes. And what's most interesting about that moment is he did not have to call me on the phone. He could have just wrote up a report. He could have wrote up and did whatever it is that he had to do to fulfill the needs of his job. But he thought enough of me to call me on the phone and encourage me to do what needed to be done. It didn't matter what I was going through. I signed up for the journey. And throughout the journey, I met other leaders and other faculty members who gave me that same experience. But particularly Dr. Longnecker. He called me one day, and I had failed a class. A lot going on in life. I failed a class, and he said, you've already proven that you can overcome. And I know that this is just a moment in time where you're going to persevere. He didn't say the word perseverance, but thinking back on the conversation, that's what he was saying. He already knew that I was capable. So it's encouragement. It's encouragement. Just being encouraged. It's all it really was. It's having.
So that's an actionable step that our friends today can do right off the bat, is just simply encourage someone.
Encourage. Hour of Empower.
Go ahead, Don.
I think that's so valuable because, again, part of the perseverance is overcoming challenges, struggles, whatever you want to call them.
Yes.
And they're only what you call them.
Yes.
You want to put a name on it, you can choose any name you want. But I think the beauty of it is when you have to deal with it, the people you share how you dealt with it don't have to deal with it in that way. Maybe it prevents them from encountering it, or when they do encounter it, they got a little bit more of a roadmap. Again, another similarity. I spent the first 27 years of my life in Detroit. I was born there, went to Mumford High School, and actually, a shout out to Mumford. That's where Beverly Hills Cop.
Right.
If you look at Eddie Murphy, he's got Mumford High School.
Yes.
That's right.
Everything else because
You're
the
right.
producer, Jerry Bruckheimer, was a graduate of Mumford High School. So, anyways, another similarity with Darren Hardy. And it's funny how LinkedIn and opportunities like this present themselves. We had a lady on, just a week ago, and she happened to grow up 6 blocks from me, went to the same high school a couple years earlier, and I never knew she existed. And you know, it's funny how you got to go out in the world to come back to your neighborhood.
Yes.
But, you know, I think the key is, you know, we talk about failure as simply feedback, you know,
Yep.
and, you know, fail forward. And the other really perspective is nothing, you know, everything's a continuum, not an outcome.
That's right.
You say by Friday something has to happen. Well, the world's still going to show you Saturday.
That's right.
No matter how much you pout or jump up and down, it's coming ready or not. And I think the best thing you can do is do the best thing you can do and say that's the best I could do. And I give myself an A for effort, for interest, for direction. And the number came out wrong. When people go back to Edison, and it took 10,000 experiments to create that light bulb. And he said, I just figured out all the other ways that didn't work. When I look at this show, you know, every week, every month, it gets better. I get better. Why? Because everybody in the audience ratchets up together. When everybody's smarter, when everybody's more practiced, and they come back together, well, 40 people sharing with 40 people every day is pretty powerful.
It sure is.
And the
Well,
other,
LinkedIn, what'd you tell me, Don? LinkedIn has like 1 billion people now?
yeah, they've got 1 billion registered, 180 million do anything in a week, like watch, do, read.
A lot of people, Karen.
2% do any content. Only 36,000 newsletters. And when you reduce it to live streams, I couldn't name you 50, let alone 1,000. So it's people are where the crowd is, where everybody's yelling over each other.
Right.
When you can steal off with your own friends and family in a place in the sun where you don't have people throwing stuff at people, or, you know, and I think that's the key is people want safety. Like Daniel said, growing up, he had to be protective. People come here because they feel safe. They feel they can express whatever's going on, and everybody respects them for it, which encourages it. So many people have been playing to the wrong audience. It's not what they're playing is wrong. When they turn it around, they get a receptive audience. You know, when you're a kid and someone says that's great, it means something. When someone says you'll never do it, that means something, right? And after a while, you wonder, who are you listening to?
Well, the power of suggestion, we talk about that a lot. And yesterday when you talked about optimism, I believe in courageous optimism is what I call it, for me anyway, meaning that no matter what, and it comes right back to perseverance, I have my ideas of what success means to me and my legacy, and I know we all do. But the bottom line is this: perseverance is what keeps us going when we want to give up. Perseverance is the one that puts us on over the top, whether it's as a school principal as I was, or a keynoter or trainer, whatever I did. There were times that I did want to give up. I didn't think it was going to happen. It wasn't going to happen. But there was something that kept me going. And that's that something that definable, really, something, that still small voice in us, whether it's from the higher power that we believe in, or whatever our belief system is that keeps us going when it gets tough. That's the key, is the not giving up. Now, I know D'Angelo is a big fan of Winston Churchill. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't it Churchill who said, never give up? Never
did.
give up?
He did say never
Okay.
give up. He did say never.
And that's kind of where I am on everything in my life is, like I said, if you see me stop doing something, it's not because I gave up. It's just something had to shift. So I don't see an issue at all with us as a group here today. And again, those listening to the replay, I think that the mid-course correction is what we have to do today, not just to survive, but to thrive. We need to be able to pivot. It goes like this, like this, like this, whether it's about lost passwords or goofed up bank accounts. This is a time where we're challenged, but we can come together as a collective people that we have so much in common, much more than our differences. But it takes perseverance to stay with it. And that's what I see in you, Donald, and what I see in my friend D'Angelo, is that when you're at that point where you could go this way or this way or this way, and you have to make that decision fairly rapidly sometimes. That's where that pivot comes in.
Well,
And-
as a distinguishing point to that, when you look at giving up, it's really giving up to something better or an extension of it, right? So I don't go down, I don't go back. I can pause for a bit, but if
That's
I'm
right.
giving something up, it's because I'm exchanging it for something that's going to build
That's right.
or add to it. I mean, if you really look at Tarzan, his whole his whole magical power was catching the next vine, right?
You're right. I don't know how you came up with that, but that's a good
hit the cliff or something. And in life, you got to catch the next vine or don't let go of the vine you're on. I mean, I grew up where I had to grow up, in a way that, was a different world. But the sooner you learn on your own, the better you are. And it takes a while for people. Some people never get there. And the other element that you make is whenever you phrase something as your instead of our, there's a whole different dynamic. Because if you've got 20 friends around you who are really good mentors or counselors,
That's right.
and you say, hey, I've been thinking about this and thinking about that, you're going to get enough of a feedback. Someone will say, hey, stay in it, you're really close, or hey, just change this or add this, or hey, let me help you out for a little bit. And that's the difference. Sometimes we always say it here, if you can't do it, could we do it? You don't have to be the end all and do all. It's too much. Some people are awful at things and they're great at other things. And they always tell you, work on your greatness. Don't, find some way to deal with that other stuff. And most of the stuff you're great at is the stuff you love.
Yes.
And when you love something, perseverance is a tailwind.
Absolutely.
It moves you forward. When you make that commitment to say, hey, I'm in, and there ain't no going back, because what I learned, and I've been in business situations, especially when you had to turn around businesses where you had to fire or terminate 60% of the people quick. You had to make these fast moves. And that's hard, right? Not only doing it, but watching what happens when you do it. And people say, I just bought a house last month. I'm going to lose it now. Just had a baby, no way to pay for anything. And I came in to do a job, right? And you can only say what you can say, but you realize that why did the other 40 or 60% stay here? Why did 40 have to leave? And usually it was no one took extra time to learn more, to contribute more, get earlier, stay late.
Right.
And I think when people say, why am I trying to do as little as possible? And
Right.
they're the people that when you give it, I'll give it back. Again, it's never going to happen. And the sooner you do something for somebody, the sooner you'll realize who that somebody is. Because if you can't get a thank you, if you can't get a smile in return, then it's a bad investment, right? And it's up to you to continue to find out, who you can leverage with. And that's the beauty of this show, is after all these months, I'm a factor of everybody who's been here in one little way or another. You don't know
That's
where you
right.
take that thought or what encouraged you to take an action. But before we run out of time, we got too much
right.
audience that we can't disrespect. Claire Reed,
No.
PhD. That's how I raised 2 kids on my own, got us all through college, finished my
Mhm.
PhD, went into counseling, and now coaching perseverance is one of my top values. Couldn't have done it
Wow.
otherwise. So Claire, you're a welcome guest. It's a beautiful comment you provided to really wrap things for us. Claire comes back. What's that? Randy. Randy's a multiple commenter. You don't give up. You adjust and keep moving.
Right.
A lot of hellos here. Dr. Joanne is here.
Hi, Joanne.
Joanne is just a fabulous lady. She's done so much for so many, and she's involved with helping children also. Good morning. Great to see you, Dr. Joanne. Randy, hello, Carl. Claire comes back with, this is super. I have to go. Thank you. I wish you could have heard what we just said about you. Maybe
Right.
share that with you. I should have been better off. Better attuned to comment. 2 people shared the Mega Millions out of the same store. Wow. That's a good story to tell. Skydiving is a wonderful example of diving into fear. Kelly says, go through the loud. And Kelly actually has done skydiving.
I
Chaos,
know that.
glide into the most amazing silence and peace. And everybody has done it, has really, really felt they gained so much from it. Hello from Florida. Randy says, just a random comment. You look so chill today, all kick back and relax. Well, that's another way you could do it every day. Is
Right.
another thing, if you do some 600 times, every time only meant 1/3 of 1% of all your shows.
That's right.
Right. So in relationship, I'll tell you a quick joke. There was a minister who retired, and he was in the practice for like 20 years. And his wife, and he went into his bedroom closet and saw 2 boxes. And the one box had like 15 or 20 rolls, and the other had 10 eggs. So he asked his wife, what's going on here? What are the eggs and these dollars for? She said, well, during your whole career, every time, you gave a bad speech, I collected an egg. And he said, well, that's not bad. 10 bad speeches in my career. And he says, yeah, but every time I got a dozen, I sold it for $1. He ended up like 150. But, it's all perspective. Carl says, thanks for today. Looking forward to talking with Don on Wednesday about entrepreneurship. Well, that's great. Carl's doing every other Wednesday, and Dave Snell is sharing Wednesdays on every other Wednesday there. It's really filling up with people who are doing stuff now. Once you get to know, trust, and like somebody, and you get that out of the way, it's like, what do you want to do with each other? And
That's right.
what was the whole point of going through that whole thing? Because it wasn't fair to the other person. That's why I always say on LinkedIn, I'll never connect if I won't converse, right? If I connect with somebody and say, let's have a call, I'm going to have that call, or I'm not going to connect, because why always put a ceiling and not share it with somebody?
Right.
The thing is, you're not alone. You're with people, like it or not. They're with you, like it or not. And why not like it? And why not love it? And I think at a certain point, and my kids have said to me, you've gotten the fame, you've made the money, you did all that stuff. You don't got to prove nothing to nobody else anymore. You've already been that way. I say, yeah, but I'm a new person every day. You can't live on yesterday. And yesterday doesn't define tomorrow. And I think a lot of people look at, hey, because of who I have been or where I've been or who I've been with, that's going to define what I'm going to be. No, today you could say I can use all of that. That gave me the launch pad. Now where do I want to go? Who do I want to go with? And you'll see, you never want to be the smartest person in the world. And one thing I'll tell you about success, it only means a lot after you've experienced failure, because then you appreciate everything. Another thing about failure is you learn so much on the way down, you never learn on the way up. and it ultimately makes you humble. And if you can get the humble, and I look at this as not 3 people on a stage talking to 40 people down there, it's like 43 people in a circle together with each other, right? And that way it doesn't make us have to do more than we can do, but it also allows everybody else to do everything they can and want to do, because it's the doing. The most terrible things in life don't feel that bad if you've been through it enough times. But
Yes.
something brand new that comes up, because the things you've had experience with, you just, well, okay, I'm into this. I know how this is going to work. It's going to be
Right.
so much of that, and then the day it's
Yeah.
going to be this. And I think the other big attribute people can have is looking beyond where they're at. Saying, when I used to be afraid of dentists, I used to say, well, how long is that drill going to hurt? And I said, "Probably about 20 seconds." I said, well, I can count to 20 if that's all it's going to be and be done with it, right? So persevering is not as difficult as there's an end point, and you open the door and you're in a better place. So we're already top of the hour.
We are.
With that, Omar finishes with nice to meet you, D'Angelo Richardson.
Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you.
Love your jokes, Donald. And Omar's a great guy. And Omar's
Oh, we love Omar.
Rita. So we're all friends of friends. And I think that's even more
Right.
important, the ripple effect we have. So,
Mhm.
D'Angelo, closing comments about the show and what your new thoughts on perseverance are.
Yeah, my new thoughts on perseverance. Just discover your why. Begin with the end in mind. That's a quote from someone. But begin with the end in mind. And when you have your why and you have your end result, you won't worry about what the journey is. You're gonna go through it. You're gonna go through it. I wrote in a book. I wrote in a book. There's only those who intend to come out of wars that enter them. So you know that you're going to be victorious when you decide that you're going to begin a journey. You just have to embrace the journey every step of the way until you receive the reward or the success that you envisioned in your mind. When you envision that success, do not allow anything and anyone to take it away from you. The only person that can take it away from you is you, the self, the inner being. If you allow yourself to take away the victory that you've already created and designed in your mind that helped you to make the decision in the beginning, as long as you can hold on to what that decision was, that motivation, that determination, that whatever it is about you that is a benefit to everyone else, to include yourself, because we are all experiencing life together. If you can hold on to that for just one more second, victory will be sitting on the other side of your patience, on the other side of your perseverance. And then you'll start the journey over with a new vision, with a new innovation, with a new creation, with a better opportunity for others, with a greater unification of world society.
Wonderfully put. Thank you so much, D'Angelo, for sharing today and contributing. I believe it shared so much value and inspiration and motivation. Rita, look at we've got,
There's the baby.
She's here.
Oh, she's here. Thank
Yeah.
goodness. I'm so glad you brought her.
loves the camera, huh?
She does.
You should
Oh,
look-
I love it. I
so,
love it.
so Rita, final point or thoughts?
I'm only going to say one thing because you got to meet my dear friend this morning. I wanted everybody who hadn't met D'Angelo to meet him because he inspires me every single day, off and on all day, and sometimes till 2 in the morning. I wish I was kidding. I have this to say, Don, only one thing. The bigger we are, the deeper we bow.
Mhm.
And that's all.
No, that's a great way of putting it. And I think it honors so many people when you share their words instead of yours, because their words had an impact on you, and it should have an impact on people like you. And I think that's where you got to make room, instead of just buying one meal, buy 6 meals if you're there and find 5 people that are hungry. It's the little things done right over time that compound. And it makes perseverance easier because you got some extra room, got some time, you got some space. It's the people who get to the airport an hour early that enjoy the flight so much more. then the people are just getting a parking space, rushing to the terminal, hoping this, and the hour before they were sitting home watching some dumb TV show when they could have been on the road and had that pleasure of not having to be impatient. So thank you all. I see 90% of you here every day. It is like a true family. And, you know,
It is.
the beauty of being every day is you can take a little bit every day and know there's more tomorrow, right? It's not like get it all or it's not going to be here. And I think that benefits abundance and not scarcity. So keep coming back. I'll tell you real quick who's going to be on the show. Tomorrow is me, Harvey, and Kelly. When we look at Tuesday is Beverly. She's here every Tuesday. She does just a tremendous job, Beverly Glazer. And with her is going to be a brand new person. You've got to tune in for her. I'm so impressed. Her name is Denise Drinkwater, and she's a friend of Beverly's, and I'm so grateful for people to invite their friends. And Wednesday is Carl. Thursday is me and Kelly, and it just gets better. So with that said, enjoy the rest of your Sunday, and we'll talk in 23 hours if you can make it back.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, Don. Thank you, D'Angelo. There's our baby.